and welcome back to the Irish Hunting Podcast, the number one place for your hunting, fishing and country sports stories from around the world. Stick on the kettle, crack open a beer, pull up the feet, relax and enjoy. Hello and welcome back to episode 125 of the Irish Hunting Podcast, Young Guns. This week, it's all about the youths. We chat with Jason and Alan, two men who are organising a brilliant event this Sunday, 12th of April, all about the youth. We discuss some of our previous youth development work and some of the plans we have coming into the future. This episode of the podcast was brought to you by Game Cooling Ireland. For all your game cooling and game prep needs, visit gamecooling.ie. Enjoy this one, folks. Jason Keating, Alan Kirwan, you're very welcome to the Irish Hunting Podcast. Lads, it's been a while coming. We've been looking to try and get this on for a while now. I know you guys are busy planning stuff, and I've met both of you over the last couple of weeks in different guises. Alan, I met you. I got an incubator off you many weeks ago, and Jason, I met you down in Tralee, of all places.
That's right, Anto. Yeah, had a good night down there. In fairness,
unfortunately, I missed it. I had something else on. I missed that night, but yeah, thanks for having us.
Look, it's our pleasure, lads. It's one of the things we're mad to promote all things youth and new people coming into the sport. So, and I know your club has been very prevalent. I noticed down at the AGM, I think you took home a couple of awards that night, Jason. Is that right?
We did, yeah. We won the Junior Club of the Year this year, so we were delighted to get that.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that was a big boost for us now, so we were delighted to get it. Good
stuff. And I suppose, look, one of the reasons we wanted to try and bring you on is to, I suppose, promote this brilliant event that you have coming up on Sunday, the 12th of April. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I'm away, and I would have loved to. I'd say my kids would have been just delighted to be down there. I suppose, Alan, over to yourself there for a second. How did the idea come about first? What was the thinking behind it?
So I suppose, like, as we all know, there hasn't been any engagement with youth regarding the hunting community for as long as I can remember, nearly. Whereas when we were all young lads, you were always going to go out and do a bit of hunting and shooting, and you know, it's something that I suppose, with all the bad publicity and everything that the hunting community have been getting over the past 5-10 years, I suppose myself, Jason and Mert and a few of the lads have kind of got together, basically Rose and Alice Gun Club and Gary Hinch Gun Club, in collaboration with Laois Regional Games Council, have kind of spoke about it over the past year, like, and kind of threw it out their thoughts of how do we do this and how are we going to basically promote the sport, and like, youth is our future in no matter what it is. If it's football, if it's hurling, you know, if you don't have the youth involved in it, you're not going to have the sport going forward. So they're the most important part of the whole thing. And I suppose with all the bad press that it's been getting and everything, we basically said we're going to do something. Unfortunately, the powers that be haven't acted and haven't done anything in recent years. So we took it on ourselves to basically to get a plan together. And in fairness to Rose and Alice Gun Club, they're very proactive. They're a very proactive gun club. They're you know, they've great ideas. They've a real can-do attitude, you know. And
yeah,
I think it was ideal, our gun club and their gun club, like, collaborating to basically push this forward. And of course, it's great that now we have the NARGC bringing up the shooting simulator, and it's for all ages, basically.
Yeah, and look, I suppose or in terms of yourself, Jason, I know you're very passionate about. Me and you have spoken. I think going back, I was just looking at our thread. It seems like only yesterday we started talking, but it goes back quite a while. I know you're extremely passionate about, pushing the club forward, about driving it forward, about you know what I mean, being proactive. And I think Alan mentioned something there. I think it's up to individual gun clubs. Like, we don't need to wait on people. I think if you bring ideas to the table, I think there will be support and help there for you once lads are willing to get behind it. I think that's the message here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Anton. And like Alan said there, the reason we're so proactive in our club and trying to be seen to be doing stuff is, the media at the moment is doing nothing, only putting us down. There's nothing good coming from the media, so that's
Yeah,
another idea for running this, that it sheds a light on the good stuff we do, the conservation, the biodiversity, um, all that good stuff, like. And yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you don't have youths coming up, what are you doing it for, really? Like, we're lucky enough in our club that we do have a good few youth members, but from talking to other lads across the country and other clubs like that, it is a big, big problem. Um,
yeah,
so look at, it's like anything. It's probably the sort of rural pursuits. If you come from a family that doesn't have anyone, an uncle or a father or a brother or whatever that's into hunting, it's probably not the easiest sport to get into.
yeah,
If you look at GA clubs or soccer clubs, for example, like, they probably have an enrollment day every year where they enroll new members. Like, gun clubs, they don't do that. But hopefully, this will be a pathway for young people, young boys and girls that aren't involved with sport, as a pathway for them to get involved with.
yeah. Absolutely. And I think, look, believe it or not, just as you mentioned it there, we were over in the UK just there a while ago, and there was a young man shooting at one of the driven shoots there on the Beaters Day, and he was, I think he was 14, 15. But I was talking to his dad was there, and I said to him, you must be shooting a long time and nice to see the young. He said, no, no. He said, believe it or not, he said the lads. He was always he was in around the town. He always wanted to do a bit of shooting. Kind of got teamed up with the lads that we went over to hunt with Tom and the lads. And he helps out with the hatching and the breeding and the rearing. And he said, I actually got involved in shooting through him. So now the two boys, father and son, going out on driven days and shooting all over the country and stuff like that. And it's a sport, both of them, but it's in the reverse. The young chap got the father involved. And I thought that was a fantastic, what would you say, sign of growth. I think probably similar to what could happen on Sunday. You could get people here who probably don't have a tradition of hunting in the family, but might come down for the day, and maybe one or two kids might get the graw for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And
That's exactly what we want to come out with this, like, and for someone to come down that's not that familiar with hunting and stuff, and to see what we have on display, the conservation side of things. Again, I'm just gonna harp on about that again, but
Yeah,
that's hugely important, because I suppose a lot of people don't see that side of the sport of rural pursuits. They don't see the
yeah.
conservation, the biodiversity, all the hard work that goes in rearing season and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, Al, tell us about, right, what time does it kick off? What time were you look at asking people to be there?
so there's there's a couple of posters gone out, unfortunately. So ideally 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock till five p.m. Obviously, it might run on a bit later, depending on crowds. But yeah, between two and five, everyone's welcome to
To
come.
start tipping in.
Um,
And from the top to the bottom, I suppose, start from the start. What's on display? Tell us about one or two things that's on display there.
So we're waiting to get confirmation back, but we're hoping that National Parks and Wildlife Service will be there. We know the Wild Deer Association will be there. We're hoping to have a few little stalls basically on conservation, owl boxes, like basically a lot of stuff got to do with conservation is what we're looking at. Look, lads, there's no point saying any different. It's going to be small this year, but it's something that myself and Jason are passionate about, and we're going to year on year. So if there is a
Yeah.
turnout this year, next year it'll be bigger. It's like everything. It starts small. But just back on what you were saying, Anto, about the UK, I think it's my view that the way the hunting community is in the UK, it's like they get a lot of drama, more so than we do over there in the media and hunt saboteurs and everything like that. But the way that I suppose they're represented and the way they
We're just losing you there a little bit, Al.
basically don't take anything lying down. I think that's more so. Yeah,
We're just losing you there a little bit, Al. You might be coming into a bit of bad reception there.
sorry. It's just the way I suppose they should be doing it here. I think. We'll be back
Yeah, back there, Al.
now. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Sorry, have you now?
Sorry.
All right.
I was just saying, with the way the UK basically are so proactive in recruiting youth and basically everything got to do with rural pursuits. I'd like to see Ireland kind of following in that footstep a lot more.
Yeah.
Basically, so.
Well, look,
like,
I think
we want to build this every year. We want to build it. We want to see a turnout. We want to see people enjoying themselves, having fun, and knowing that next year we can get more stalls, more people, more fun to be having and turning into an annual event.
absolutely. I suppose, Jason, like, isn't that the whole thing here? Like, I mean, I absolutely. It's probably, look. You might be pleasantly surprised. You might have to get some help with the traffic. Maybe I think it'll be a little bit bigger than probably might be expected. But even if it is small this year, I think it's fantastic idea. And what it does as well, it gives other clubs, other counties, other regions, ideas. And I think that's what, even over the last 2 years, I've seen it myself. You know what I mean? Since we've started this whole podcast thing, I mean the drive towards education and youth and promotion of our sport, I think has got a lot. There's a lot of positives out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. There has been, and in fairness to yourself, since you set up the Irish Hunting Podcast, like, it has been a great platform for promoting the good things we do. And there definitely has been a transition in the way gun clubs are going about stuff and educating people on what we
Yeah,
do. But yeah, no, look at it. It's, as Alan said, it's our first year running it, so to a certain degree, there's going to be trial and error. But look, we hope it's going to be a good day and a good turnout. But yeah, definitely, this is something that we're hoping to turn into an annual event. And like you said, that other gun clubs can come down and see what we're doing and take things away from it too. Like, and
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
that's
I think
the main goal
I
at
think
the
as
end of
well.
the day.
The big thing there, another big thing, I suppose, is a simulator. Not one of the conservation element is massive. Look, we had a chat. I was actually chatting to George Murphy there yesterday, and we had an extended chat yesterday even, and we were just talking about the changes in landscapes and so on and so forth, and we both kind of came to the uneducated assumption, that there's, I don't know, there's 120,000 firearms holders around the country. If you take half of them are out shooting, 50, 60,000 roughly. So who better to be, what would you say, promoting, and we have a vested interest in keeping our countryside thriving, because without it, we don't have our pastime. So I think there's an untapped resource there from a government perspective that, if they want people with boots on the ground who are willing to do the graft, like what you guys are doing, tap into it and utilize us as the mediums between government and farmers and government and land. And I think what you guys are, and the ethos of what you're doing there is you're promoting, as Alan rightly said, you've owl boxes and bat boxes and all that kind of stuff, and maybe the I presume there's vermin control and what would you say, wildflower seeds, all that kind of the stuff that we do kind of without even thinking about it. And then also, then you're not saying we don't shoot. We do shoot. You have a simulator there, which I know will be a popular thing on the day.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Like the simulator should definitely be good, like because that'll allow for kids of all ages to be able to use that. Look at them,
I
they'll
wouldn't.
knock a bit of crack out of it, and it'll be good sport. And yeah, for
like,
anyone then that's 14 and over, we have a qualified shooting instructor on site, so he'll go through safety demonstration, obviously, which is number one, and you'll be able to give the kids a crack at a live clay as well. So that'll be that'll be a good
That'd be
experience for them as well.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing, you might have a job getting some of the older fellas away from the simulator as well. I wouldn't mind having a.
Honest to God, yeah.
I heard a few good things about the simulator. It was down the Plough, I think, last year, so I think it went very, very well. It went down a treat, and I can imagine like what young lad or young girl doesn't want to be up there having a little bit of a pop on the day. It'd be great. And come here, will you have any kind of is there competitions or prizes on the day, Jason?
Yeah, look, we're hoping, and in fairness to Alan as well, Alan has gathered a couple of spot prizes and doing the same myself. But yeah, we're hoping to have maybe a couple of hats, a couple of jumpers, stuff like that to give away to young lads on the day.
Brilliant,
So it's something nice just to give back to them, and like that we're hoping as well. Well, we're going to do up some wildflower seeds and give to every young lad that to take home with them, and maybe ask them to plant them down the bottom of the garden. So
brilliant, brilliant.
um, yeah, no,
Look,
look, hopefully it all goes off well with it anyway.
and there's a bit of cooking involved at the end of it, I think.
That's right, yeah, yeah. We're going back to the for a game taste night afterwards in the village tap there in Rosenallis. So yeah,
Brilliant.
we won't go hungry anyway, if anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, if anyone, I want to just put it out there. We'll be giving a little bit of a push anyway toward as the week goes on. But if anyone's interested in getting involved, coming down, giving a dig out, getting involved with the lads, coming down and visiting, get down there, get down early enough, have a bit of lunch before you tip in, and a walk around with the kids. I know we've had messages already saying that there's a few lads we know are going down to it. It's unfortunate we're actually away this week, and I think I told you that pretty early on. And thing I was disgusted I couldn't make it. But for anyone wanted to get ideas, we're trying to get a big push on this type of an event. Get involved, get the hands dirty, get down there and give the lads a dig out, and have a bit of crack. I know from chatting to you, you won't have a bad day down there. There's some good lads down there, and fair play to you for putting it on. We, we've lost Alan there, have we? But listen, Jason, I suppose if anyone wants to get in contact, you can find yourself on Facebook. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And Alan's there on Facebook as well. So the poster's being circulated online there on a lot of Facebook platforms. So yeah, if anyone has any queries, don't hesitate to contact myself or Alan on it anyway.
Reach out to the lads. They're more than helpful. I know from speaking to you both, you've been nothing only positive towards ourselves and being helpful for any information or anything we've ever needed. So I'm sure it's going to be a huge success, lads. And thanks a million for putting it on behalf of the hunting community, first and foremost. And we wish you the very, very best of luck with it all.
Thanks very much, Anto, and appreciate you getting us on today to talk on it anyway.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Al. Listen, I know you're on the way back from.
I think I'm back. Am I?
He's
You're
back.
back. You're back.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're in transit, so you're on the
I'm
way
back.
back from the
I'm
holidays. In
back.
fairness,
Yeah, well, look, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Now we keep going in and out, but look, it's the same as Dan. Though, like we really appreciate what you guys are doing in there as well. Like it's brilliant for our sport. Like it's brilliant what you're pushing out there. And
appreciate that.
I love
Appreciate.
tuning in every week to listen to it. So okay,
No, look, I really appreciate the support, lads. You've been great, and keep doing what you're doing. That's all I can say. It's lads like yourselves that are keeping the future of the sport safe and sound. And fair play to you. More power to you.
thanks,
Over
Anton.
now. That's
100%. Thanks a
Talk
million.
soon.
Take it
take her
easy.
handy.
Bye.
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 Has your deer got a temperature? We've got the solution for you. Visit gamecooling.ie for a full range of game cooling and game preparation solutions. And make sure to tell them we sent you. Now you're there. Did you hear that little prompt you did?
I did, yeah. Because I was going to say something bananas, and then it says, you're recording.
I'm after running up the prom, man. I'm out of breath.
You sent me a video as you were running. I tell you, your little one can move on that scooter.
Man, this is a very apt podcast. It's all about the youth, the young guns, and this thing, man. I don't know whether it's me getting older, but it is me getting older, and she's getting faster. She's going to be a little road runner, this thing.
The golden for I showed Laura and everything, and she was just breaking her whole laughing.
Yeah, there was people actually laughing at me trying to keep up with her on the scooter, and then she just throws the scooter behind. Here, Dad, carry this, and she takes off running. Thank you, Dad.
Put that video up.
Yeah. Now you'll probably hear me panting in the background like a giraffe trying to run after her. Anyway, how are you?
Where are you in the world?
I'm in Salt Hill.
Salt Hill. Nice weather.
It was actually lovely today. Now it's a little bit overcast now this evening, but today, earlier on this morning, did I send you a video? I actually put up a video this morning just on the prom. I went down early this morning, had a little coffee, looking at the diving board. I didn't venture into the water just yet, but it's a little bit cold. I'm building myself up for that.
That's not like you. You're normally straight in.
I know, man.
You are getting old, buddy.
I am, buddy. I am. Even I was watching some of the people coming out of it, and they were all old, and I'm saying, yeah, I think, maybe you lose a little bit of, and you get it back again when you're in your older years. I'm hoping. Look, I will. Before the end of the week now, I'll jump in. Dude,
you're going to have to.
I will. Absolutely.
I think
How are you keeping?
Good, yeah. I like that the weather up here has been good. 17, 18 degrees the last 2 days, so.
Good stuff.
I'm thinking about maybe nipping out tomorrow and chase for a little bit of quarry, maybe a deer.
Are you?
Well, the young lad's off, so I was going to take a half. Yeah, I was going to take a half day. There's a farmer here around me that I haven't been getting to him as often as I'd like to. So he sent me a text saying that there's a little herd back on his ground. So I'll go up and have a little scope.
Absolutely. And I suppose that feeds into what we were saying there about, if people, I think people didn't believe us if we were to take on more land, we couldn't do it.
No.
This whole thing has gone mad, man. We're trying to squeeze in. We've about 6 or 7 different podcasts lined up here.
Yeah.
And trying to get them all in. And
so for people that are waiting, they're not waiting, but we are going to get to them, but we might release them. Like, we might have them held back and then release them in a sequence.
Yeah.
It's the only way we can really do it, buddy.
I know. We're trying to give, this is the problem, man. We're trying to give everyone a kind of a,
fair crack.
And give people a shout out that they absolutely deserve. It's just that on the other side of it, there's not enough hours in the fucking day, man.
No. I was actually out the weekend with Sean Terrell, and he thought that all our kit and equipment we were getting. Real message. He goes, yeah, but you would have just got them and then did a review and then allowed keep them. I was like, nobody. Not one thing. We buy fucking everything. He was like, that's a pain in the hole.
Yeah, so that look, we've probably talked about that. Like, I'd say we won't say everything, because 98%, 97% of stuff we've had to pay. We've got bits and pieces down through the years, kind of that people have sent us as presents and stuff and stuff like that. But everything else we pay for. But like that, I was chatting only today about it. It's a labour of love, my man, because every week we have to, like, we're talking here on Zoom, there's subscription for Zoom, there's a subscription for Downbox or Dropbox, Buzzsprout editing software, we've CapCut software for videos and all that kind of stuff. So it all adds up. And that's the thing, if we didn't love it, and we're not, that's the thing. If it was for money, dude, it kind of taints a little bit. Now, I'm not saying if anyone wants to throw book a load of money at us, absolutely throw away. But
work away,
yeah. But we can honestly say for the first couple of years here, it's been all our own bat.
Yeah. And look, it is I won't say a labour of love, but it is a bit of a labour of love. Like, I enjoy doing it with you because we're friends, and it's also giving back. Like what we're going to talk about, what you talk to Alan and Jason about youth development, and it's about looking after the next generations.
It is too, but that brings us on nicely. I suppose, look, I apologize in advance for roping you into this, because now you're tied into the same, and you were actually doing it behind the scenes anyway. So I kind of did, I noosed you into this thing, whether kicking, not kicking and screaming, but even without you kind of knowing it, because I knew you wouldn't. If I asked you to do me a turn or something, you'll just do
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean? That's the way
Yeah.
you are. You can't say no.
No,
And now you're tied into this godforsaken thing.
but I'm actually enjoying it.
Yeah,
I
I
am
know.
enjoying it.
I knew you would as well.
I only get worked up. You know what I mean? When there's
Yeah, I know. I
yeah.
know. And
Let's leave that.
we're going to talk about that one on the next one, all right? Because
Yeah,
we
great.
have a whole podcast to do. We want to talk about the choosing ammo, zero, and all that kind of stuff, muzzle velocities and all that kind of stuff. There's probably people who are actually commented on the first one who are wondering what all that stuff is. But anyway, look, we'll explain to you in more detail. All right, that's a tongue in cheek. I've had a little pop there, as you've probably seen today. I actually had a pop last night. I won them and took it down. You'll be very proud of me to know. Did you see the one I sent? No.
No.
I put up on stories and all. There was a lad on a BMX. Well, there was a lad on a bike commenting on stuff, and then he was sneering about us zero and, you know what I mean, at 50 yards and all this type of thing. And then I was just there, here, man, see your nose, yeah. I'd zero off, and I took it down. I said, we're better than that. We're better
No,
than
yeah.
that.
Yeah. If you're explaining, you're losing. Do you know?
Exactly. So yeah, I didn't bother. Look, we had our little say. We'll have that on the next one, but we're going to keep this all positive because there's huge positivity out there.
Nothing but positive, baby.
Exactly. As you
You
probably
know?
heard, I sent you on the bit of audio there from Al and Jason, and like that. Here's two lads that are two clubs. I'm not saying these are two lads on their own. They obviously have clubs behind them, but huge amount of work behind the scenes. And I think I actually said to the boys just on that, right? I've noticed definitely in the last 2 years, man, a kind of a diversion in the story, in the hunting story, you know, in terms of there's a lot more positive stuff coming out. There's a lot more, you know, stuff about conservation, schoolwork, youth development, young people
Habitat.
getting, yeah,
Like,
exactly, you know.
yeah.
And I think that's we all too often we're just after touching on it there, the negative stuff, and we're all guilty of it. Like, but this is the stuff that we really should be focusing on, and it's the stuff that people who are negative should really say, look, park that for a second. Just give this stuff a little bit of a pop, you know, because there's a huge amount of work goes in here for very little reward. I'm talking about the two lads here, you know what I mean, and the two clubs. Like, this is not for financial gain that the lads are putting this on. This is all about preserving the future of the sport. So
Yeah.
I sing it from the rooftops.
100%. And like what they're putting on that day takes a huge amount of planning, organization, manpower, and equipment for no benefit of themselves, only for other. Like, our sport actually does excel. I'd say more in the last couple of years, but it's always been there. But we sort of hid it away.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an undercurrent of people that were probably it's by definition, I think, because it is a kind of a, what would you say, it's a lonely sport at times, because you can, you know, me and you will both attest, if you're not feeling great, or if you just throw the rifle in your back and I'll throw the gun on my back and out on the go with the dog or whatever. So it has that kind of lone, pardon the phrase, lone gunman type mentality. Do you know what I'm saying? Where you can just literally go out with yourself and your dog. So we're not comfortable putting the hand up and saying, here, look over here, look what we're doing here. It's great. But the problem is, while we're not doing that, everyone else is saying. Like, you look at soccer or Gaelic or the clubs, and they're promoting the, litter picking and planting a tree in the middle of a green, one tree. You know what I'm saying? I've seen this over the last, like, our clubs, I'm talking about clubs around the country here, are planting trees on a huge scale. They're
Yeah.
preserving habitat on a huge scale. They're they're preserving and planting wildflower and game crop on a huge scale. So these are all the things we need to be putting, and we're guilty of it too. So put our hands up and say we are doing this. We're encouraging young people who want nothing better only to get their hands dirty, throw their hands on like the lads are doing, a simulator at the weekend, or taste a bit of wild game and go in and tell their friends, I tasted deer today, I tasted pheasant or whatever. Like, guarantee you next week that there'll be people gone away and Easter holidays and all, and any young people that go to that'll be top of the talking charts in school next week.
100%. And I think as a culture, just the Irish culture, we're not great at going, here, look over here, look at me, look what I'm doing. We're not.
Yeah.
We actually shy away from it because it's nearly, look at who's your man. He's getting too big for his boots over there. So we don't naturally do it. But
No.
you're 100% right. Those kids go to a day like that, or another day someone sets up and there's, let's say, habitat in it. They mightn't get into hunting, but there's other avenues that surround hunting that they might fall into and make a career out of.
Well, absolutely, or at the very least have a huge, what would you say, pastime. Like, not everybody is good at football or rugby or tennis or golf or whatever the kind of the more mainstream sports are. But if you take our sport alone, like, you have the bird hunting, you have the bird rearing, you have the habitat preservation, you have the dogs. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to pick up a gun. You have the clays, you have target shooting. I'm missing a couple there. I know there's photography. You know what I'm saying? What better way? I guarantee you, there's a lot of young people out hunting with their mothers and fathers right now that would know a lot more about wildlife and birds and habitat than a lot of people who are reading about in books. So
And you'll also argue, buddy, mainstream sports, even the ones that are brilliant at it, there's a lifespan on that. You can only do it at the tippity
absolutely.
top scale for a set. You can go out hunting in your 80s. My father-in-law is 80 and he's flat out with his dogs.
Well, there you go. Going back to Jim there, like, you take Jim hunting now with Sean, his grandson. Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like, teaching him how to train dogs. Like, there's three generations essentially. You know what I'm saying? So he's now passing his knowledge and skills on to, Sean's 16. He's 16, isn't he? 16, yeah.
16, yeah.
Yeah, 16. So, like, and has been doing that for the last number of years. You know what I mean? So, and I know from being out hunting with Sean, he is fanatical about emulating Granda Jim. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's another side where you're there's knowledge in there. There's dog training. Even if Sean never picks up a gun, which I know he has, but if he never has to pick up a gun and found out about how to train a dog, you know what I mean? If you're a dog lover, there's a whole. We met people down at some of the dog trails who've never shot, but will hunt with springers.
100%. And not only that, right, but from the family aspect, Sean has been off, the same as your own kids, the Easter holidays. He has spent 2 weeks solid with his granddad training dogs. No, take the dogs out of it. The relationship that he has with his granddad through this sport is much closer than some of the other grandkids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because if you take any other sport, man, where else would you get that kind of one-to-one? Like, if you take soccer, they're going to go to a soccer club. Absolutely, you could play soccer, but again, you're talking about the age, and even at our age, I'm talking about running up after my young one here. If my young lads, you know what I mean, I would have kicked ball with them when they're younger, but now not so much because they're gone past the level where I can help them. Do you know what I'm saying? They're 16 and 15 and 20. You know what I'm saying? So like I remember throwing rugby ball with Dylan, but sure he knows more about rugby now than me. So I'm no use in that. I'll go and watch his games. You know what I'm saying? Do you hear me? Do you get what I'm
Oh,
saying? So,
I get what you're saying.
whereas Jim will always be able to, you know what I mean? Here, Sean, maybe try this, you know, because it's an evolutionary sport. It's something that's always kind of changing, and there's tweaking and so on. And like we were chatting to Niall down and thing about doing the series of clay videos, you know, clay shooting videos, you know, and from start, there's another side of it, you know. I've listened only this week where new shooters are kind of they're being they're being taught, say, one way, and there's three or four different ways, and trying to find the right style that suits them. So this is something that can live with you, you know what I mean,
There,
long
there's,
into your
there's
career, you
always
know?
going to be innovators in all these outdoor pursuit sports. Like
Yeah,
someone will think of a new way to pick up lead, or try this little trick, or change your stock, or use a
yeah.
different. Like, it's always grown, and when technology grows, it's only going to keep on growing. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, as I said, the lads down there, like, I mean, they're sending out, you know, young people with wildflower seeds, and there's prizes on the day, and there's a simulator. Like, what young lad doesn't want to go down there and throw a gun on the shoulder and have see if he can shoot a couple of
yeah,
simulate pheasants, you know?
and a simulator is cool for kids,
Okay.
for young people. Are they doing clay pigeon shooting? Because obviously I wasn't on the first part. I had to work. Someone has to keep this country safe. So
Absolutely.
are they are they doing clay pigeon shooting as well as simulator?
No, I think there's gun safety. So there's going to be, for people over 14, young people over 14, there's going to be a gun safety demonstration. There's going to be somebody giving, you know, basic gun safety. So there's going to be
Okay,
that.
very good.
And then the simulator, I've never seen the simulator up close. I'm mad to get at it, man. That's what I said to the lads today. I was there, like, I'd be at the top of the queue there, you know what I mean, trying to get in that. But I presume it's simulated clay, and there's probably simulated birds on the simulator. So, and then there's some wild game tasting, and there's going to be demonstrations in terms of some of the L boxes and so on. So look, it's all, there's a huge emphasis on conservation, and look, as is probably, it's, what would you say, most of our hunting stuff is what, 20% hunting, 80% conservation. Do you know what I mean? So that's the other side of it. So
And they'll have stalls. They do.
stalls. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's a few demos there from conservation and probably vermin control and a few bits and pieces like that. And I think the Wild Deer Association are down there. They're open to a few different people kind of selling their wares and stuff like that. You know, having, it's probably going to be this year. It's going to be the foundation event. You know what I mean? But I think the country's crying out for this type of thing. We haven't had a game fair down here in a couple of years, as far as I know. So I think it'll go a treat, man.
I you have to take your hats off to the two lads. And it's not just to whoever is helping them as well, because this can only be good. Not even for youth, but like someone who's shooting their whole lives might want to go down and have a look at what's going on.
Absolutely. Look, we can attest this, man. Like, we, and hands up, right? This is my perspective on it. When we're planning the stuff in terms of the youth development stuff and the youth engagement, it can be, because like that, we've work and we've the podcast and we've a bit of hunting and we've other responsibilities. And it's kind of like, oh, jeez, man, I kind of have to do this, right?
Yeah.
But
No, I hear what you're saying.
yeah, but when you do it,
Yeah.
when you come out, it is very, very reward. It is. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, man. Because we've had our day in the sun. Do you know what I'm saying? We've, like, if we get the odd glimmer of light now from, and I don't mean to be pessimistic around, but like, if we get a little bit of hunting from now until we're 60 grand, you know, every season, if we get out and we get lucky here and there, and we get grand. Like the numbers are going to start tailing off, as is the natural order of things. So the proper way is to start feeding our knowledge and our experiences down to the next level of people coming through, and that has to involve new hunters, young people, and the lads. Absolutely, Rose and Alice. If anyone hasn't, check out their page. Check out we're doing some of the stuff there on the socials. Check it out. Get down there for 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Like you're there on a Sunday. I think the weather's supposed to be reasonable.
Supposed to be reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, get down and have a little nosy. Give the lads a little bit of feedback, or maybe say, I want to get involved in this next year, or you know what I mean, take away some of the stuff from it that maybe a few clubs could do this next year, at different times. So yeah, more power to them.
More power. Like, why did they do it? Like, why do we do youth development? For me, right, I'm not hitting you with a random question.
Yeah.
It would be like preservation of our sport and passing on traditions would be one aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other side of that, dude, is like, if people were to, right, because there are clubs across the country where there's no youths coming into the clubs, right? And I can understand it. There's ground has been kind of decimated in a lot of towns and stuff. I've had this conversation with a few lads just in Kildare, where towns that would have been strongholds for game clubs now are kind of, obviously the construction and infrastructure now is taking over a lot of their land, so they're essentially just seeing out, the last number of years, and those clubs will probably fold, which is
there
an
any
awful.
way? Sorry, go on. I'm sorry for cutting across you. You go ahead.
No, I think you're gonna ask that question. So I think that'll be the an awful sad day.
Yeah, but how do we counteract that? I know you're the youth development for Kildare, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, like, there is a new man that's being appointed for the NARGC.
there is, which Conor MacDonald, and which we hope to have on in the coming weeks, and that's probably one of the pinch points, where, like, straight away, like, I'd be similar to yourself. I don't see really problems. I see kind of straight away, well, how do we change it? How do we counteract that? Where there's definitely, like, there's ground. That club I was talking to you about, right? I'm not going to mention it here because I know one of the men actually listens to the podcast, and I'm not going to. It's not a. But there is ground between that club and several of the other clubs, whereas it's lying idle, and there is the potential, to expand it,
Yeah.
But I definitely think, and this is one of the things I'm going to be harping, like, I think the NARGC, we've shared one of the incentives there with game crop and cover crop and so on. If we can build more relationships with new farmers and the bigger farmers, with the bigger swathes of land, and maybe get incentives in terms of tie up our incentives with incentives that the farmers can get in terms of rolling out some cover crop and feeders, and maybe some kind of, what would you say, conservation liaison. Do you know what I mean? That kind of relationship. And definitely then with kids, like, you look at a lot of companies around towns now and villages, they'll all give sponsorship to local clubs and so on and so forth. Well, how about then if we can do that kind of a system, from farmers, like how can farmers, they get I suppose they get a lot of slack now, you know what I mean, from, in terms of the decimation of hedgerows and monocrop agriculture and all that kind of stuff. But uh, we all need them, from feeding, be it meat or vegetables, and be it from conservation, from hunting. So they're intrinsically linked
Yeah.
to community. So how do we try and tie all that in? That's the conundrum. That's the question.
Yeah. They go hand in glove. Like, that particular club or any club needs ground, then habitat to bring in new blood to teach. I'd love to get chatting to the head fella and see what type of plan, what's the best way of tackling this. Because without new blood coming through, the sport will eventually, it's only seems to be going one way, but if we can drag it back a decade or two, like save it another couple of decades, wouldn't that be an achievement?
Absolutely. And like that, you know, I was chatting to Fergal there, you know, myself and Fergal are neighbours, and as he pointed out himself, myself and him have gone at loggerheads numerous times there, you know, because he's in conservation, and he 100% and has the right to believe that his way is the way, and we're over here and we believe our way is the right way. But both of us are fighting, and we've kind of, I knew it would happen anyway, you know what I mean? Because we're essentially two fingers of the one glove, but because we've similar interests at heart, you know. We want to see nature and wildlife and countryside preserved, you know. We might have differences in terms of how that's achieved, but we've now, the podcast and himself have come together in terms of trying to get some of the schools involved in some of the projects that he's involved in, conservation projects, you know, the Swift and Curlew I know some of them won't be relevant to schools, but there's definitely an education perspective there that we can feed into. Do you know what I mean? That we can both show, and by, absolutely, there's times we're going to fucking go tongue in cheek at each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Like literally go at loggerheads, and that's fine. Have the debate, have the argument, but at the end of the day, we're still going to proceed for the betterment of the environment, of habitat, of conservation in its various forms. You know, it's not just one way. You know, and I think the youth are going to be the what would you say, the driving force behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't, it missed. I don't ever remember, like, I don't remember in my school. Don't know what you there. People
Go way out of that. No one ever came in.
came
If
in.
someone did that in my school, they would have had me hook, line, and sinker. Excuse the pun.
Yeah,
They would have.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so I think we've kind of skipped a generation, because the generation prior to us probably didn't have to. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's gone maybe 8 or 10 years too far, and now we're trying to scramble to try and recoup probably a lost generation. But look, I don't think I definitely don't think it's too late, and I think what the lads are doing here are showcasing that. I think that there's, for people sitting there, you need to, don't wait. That's my advice. Don't sit and wait for something to happen and say, look, oh, if something happens, I'll kind of get involved. Make it happen. Like, it takes, what, like, you take those little, the last couple of years we've done the little hatching programs in schools, right? That
Yeah.
takes feck all, man. It's a couple of quid for a small little incubator, half a dozen eggs, be it hen eggs, be it pheasant eggs, duck eggs. You know what I mean? It doesn't cost, you know, doesn't cost 100 quid. Do you know what I'm saying? To get a little program into a school there. And I guarantee you, there won't be a child in there that won't go by that incubator and have a little second look at it and say, geez, I wonder what's going to come out with that. Or, do you know what I mean? So,
Buddy, I can give first-hand knowledge on this because we put one of them into my young lad's school,
yeah,
and every child in the school was participating in that.
yeah.
They loved
Somewhere.
it. They painted the box. They turned the eggs. Everyone had a different job. They absolutely loved it. And I'd argue the teachers were really excited about it because they
Yeah,
were also learning. Because you have to remember, a lot of the teachers are quite young now. So we're talking about the generation that was probably missed as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So they're actually quite interested. It's for €100, the amount of joy and knowledge that you're given to near a whole school.
Yeah. Well, like that you take it. Most clubs will have 20 members, right? For argument's sake. It's a fiver a head. Throw it in between yourselves. Buy a little incubator. Throw a half dozen of eggs at the kids, and not literally now, but into the incubator. You know what I
Take
mean?
that.
Go in, give a little bit of a chat, get involved, it doesn't. Don't be afraid. Like I was absolutely when I was kind of tasked with starting, like I and I've kids myself, but you're going into a school with other kids, and I know there's a kind of a, what would you say, a little bit of a, a fear of, oh Jesus, like, what I mean, we're talking about hunting here in schools and stuff, but like
Has a bit of a taboo about it.
it does have a little bit,
Right. And the school or the principal or whoever's going to make that call, like they have to be receptive to the idea of these different programs. But most of them that we've gone to have been very acceptable. Now, we can't go to a huge amount of schools around Kildare because it's two fellas.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah,
if, like you said, local clubs decided, here, I'll hit up my local school and see. Even if they say no, there'll be another school in near proximity. Someone will say yes.
well, I guarantee you, right? Because I think for instance, started with one school the first year, went to two, then it's now at four, right? And out last week we were coming out, or the week before we were coming out at school, and we were approached by a stand-in teacher. It was a teacher in another school, and said, "Here, would you be willing to come to this school?" So
that actually happened twice, buddy.
There you go.
And you have to remind him, you have to take a note of this. I got to get back onto that teacher.
Well, there you go. So isn't that it? Like, so there you go. Now that's potentially six schools. You know what I'm saying? Just out of, because what'll happen is absolutely, because if you don't understand hunting and conservation, there's that's just people running around now with they're listening to too many kind of nut jobs on Facebook. You know what I mean? It's all lunatics running around with guns and trying to kill stuff, right? They miss the what would you say, the underlying element of it, in terms of the what would you say, the
good, the positive.
Yeah, well, the tie into boots on the ground, the mental health aspect, the social aspect. There's so many different ways that we or so many different ties that we've spoken about here. But once one teacher kind of, that word will spread, and that'll start to say, look, and we've got a little bit better as we went along. You know what I mean? We now we've pull up boards, and we've displays, and we've a few bits and pieces. So you start to feed in some of the stuff and say, oh look, the kids like this. They maybe didn't like that bit of it. They weren't too interested. Like when we went to one of the schools, there was some of the stuff, and we just, Grant, let's concentrate on this part.
Yeah.
So you kind of feed off what the kids are interested in. Do you know what I mean? And you learn from. They'll teach you just the same,
And I will say, because I can fully echo what you were saying about we have to go and do it, but I walked away from them a couple of days smiling, because some of them kids are very funny.
They're brilliant.
They're gas, and like really enthusiastic, ask lots of questions. Even one of the schools was younger than the rest of the schools, and some of the questions we'd already covered with them, but they're either not paying attention, and now they have a little question and you get to answer it, and now they're engaged because they're asking questions. I just thought it was well worth doing from my perspective. I walked away happy.
Absolutely. And you get, as you rightly said, you get some random lad in the middle of the class, right, who's looking out the window, and then he'll come up and he'll put his hand up for about half an hour trying to get in, and then when it comes to him, he'll kind of forget the point he was about to make, and then he'll say something like,
"Can I make scrambled eggs out of them eggs?"
Yeah. Or I'm going to Disneyland next week. Do you know what I mean? It'll be just something completely. Do you know what I mean? And then sure, you can't but just laugh. Like, and that's all par for the course. You're dealing with kids, but what you'll do is you'll absolutely you'll find, as we were walking out all those schools, one or two kids will always come back up and say, "Can I have a look at such and such? Can I see that?
Yeah.
Can I hold that?" You know what I'm saying? So you'll always, what you'll do is, and then that's what it's all about. If you get two or three people, within those classrooms that are looking for something outside of the mainstream, what would you say, the go-to sports, that's what we're here for. That's we're fulfilling that requirement. You know what I mean? The kids who don't really feel that team sport maybe is their thing, but they kind of want to be involved in something.
And they don't know what they don't know. Some of these kids are that young that this is the first time they've heard about it, and like they don't know if they're interested, and all of a sudden there's a fella standing there talking to them with different things, and now, like you're after awakening something in them.
Exactly. So I think it's a good thing, man. I think what the lads are doing, going back to what they're doing there, I can't wait to see how it turns out. I was saying to the lads today, I think it'll be bigger than they think it's going to be.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna grow legs, and I think hopefully we can get down to it next year if and when the lads put on again. I think it'll be fantastic. It's
But
great advertising for sport.
For this year, anyone that's around on the 12th, this Sunday, from 1 to 5, if you're anywhere near County Laois, even if you have nothing to do with hunting, but you have young kids and they can walk around and have a look at simulators and different stalls, why not do it? It'd pass a Sunday.
Absolutely. Get over and do it. Right, what do we have on the other side of this old gig? What else do we have coming up, my man?
Oh, what else do we have coming up? I'm still waiting on my night fishing scope. I want to get hold of that. I want to get that zeroed. I need to clean my rifle properly.
And we're going to discuss that in depth as to why you have to clean that and so on the next podcast.
All the different theories, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And what else do we have?
And the people who said there's no requirement to clean a rifle at all.
At all. Yeah.
At all. There you go.
See, there's all different. This is the way I'm not going to go into any depth about it, right? But I will say this. Your rifle will start speaking to you, and mine is shouting at me at the moment to clean it. All right? So I'm going to clean it. We're going to have a podcast about our own youth development with Neil Mitchum.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Who else have we got lined up? We've lots of people lined up.
So we've Conor McDonald.
Get them.
Yeah, we've Conor McDonald. We have, as you say, Neil Mitchum. We've George Murphy, and George is on tonight on TG Carr. That's Gundog and Fly. There's my youth development there in the background. She's after singing a little song for us.
I didn't hear her, to be honest.
Did you know? But we've that, and then we have them. One of the men from across the pond, Casey. We have Pat from Clane Meat Providers, or the meat factory in Clane. Watergate Meats. Yeah.
Yeah, we've an RTE presenter.
Yeah,
might have a Lord on. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow.
That'll go down fantastic with some of the the Chewbaccas that fucking to be coming on our postman.
Look, it's all go.
Yeah,
we're trying our best to squeeze everyone in, and on top of that, we have to do a bit of hunting.
And I'm trying my best to be very nice, man.
All right, yeah.
But and for the podcast, we will continue to be nice. We'll be nasty on the next one. All right. So if you want to hear some kind of some backlash, talk to the next one. All right.
Might have a couple of drinks for that one.
Yeah, another couple.
Yeah.
All right. Come here.
Happy enough.
I'm happy enough, man. You take care. You have a lovely evening in that lovely hunting room of yours. I'm sure you have the feet up. Are you talking to me from the hunting room now?
I am talking to you, and that's what we might do next week. We'll do a videoed one from here.
That's a deal. That's a deal.
Deal. Right. Go on. Enjoy your evening.
All right. You enjoy your evening.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
Over now, buddy.
Talk to you. Bye.